Please rise in body or spirit as we sing our gathering hymn, number 1011 in the teal hymnals, Return Again. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Hillsborough. We are an open and welcoming congregation, so whether you're a member, a friend, or a guest, we are so glad you're here and joining us today. Since we are a lay-led congregation, there are a lot of volunteers who make our services possible, and we want to offer a heartfelt thank you to all of them. Today we will also be joined by Jeff Welty, a member of our congregation, who will be offering us his sermon titled Listening with a Purpose. Before we create our sacred space and begin worship, let's take a moment to share any announcements that aren't listed on the back of the order of service. The big one I have is to ensure that your cell phones are silenced or are in worship mode for the remainder of the service. Are there any more announcements for the good of the community that aren't in the order of service?
Hi, Heather here. So in the order of service, it says that it's the Day of the Dead service next Sunday, and it says that there's a Halloween carnival next Sunday. What it doesn't say is in between those two, anyone who can stay and help me decorate would be very, very, very much appreciated. Thank you. Oh, and tell everybody to come to the carnival. It's free, it's fun, and the more people we get, the more people know about our congregation, so spread the word.
And I just have one more thing to add about that service next week for our Day of the Dead service. Think about bringing a picture or a memento from a person that you love who has passed away, either in the past year or really any time, and you'll have an opportunity to put that picture on the altar and say a few words about that person.
Good morning, I'm Steve. Just want to remind everyone that early voting has started. Yay. I can't stress enough how much this election matters, and I'd like you to invite you all to join me this afternoon at the Justice United Action. For those who are unfamiliar, Justice United is one of our selected community partners. They are hosting Jeff Jackson, Mo Green, and there was a chance that Josh Stein might show up, but he might be sending a representative to speak on his behalf. All the candidates were invited. These are the people who have elected to show up. And this is a statement, this is all about Justice United and our collective agenda related to affordable housing, mental health care, and immigrant rights. This is a nonpartisan event, and it's important to have this relationship with people when they get elected, so that we can hold them accountable for their promises and for the agenda that collectively we have come up with. So join me this afternoon. I'll be happy to give 3 people. So I'm going to plan on leaving around 2:30. So if you'd like to join me in that fun thing, come on and see me after the service. Thanks.
There's a bucket, an orange bucket, that if you would like to make a small memorial for an animal companion that has died and bring it back to either, you can take a rock home, you can take your own rock, you don't have to use our rocks, decorate it in memory of that creature, and then bring it back for the Day of the Dead service or after it, and put it back on that table in the RE room, and we'll make sure they go out to Memorial Garden. We will also have after the service for kids and for any grown-ups who would like to. On the 27th, there will be paint pens and things. If you don't have time to do it at home or you don't have materials to do it at home, you can make a memorial after the service during coffee hour before you go help Heather with all the stuff.
I'm Amy. A couple people have asked me, and I don't know the answer, so. We're doing costumes on the 27th.
Yes. If you want to.
Why not? For the Halloween carnival. What about service?
Sure.
Okay, there you go. That's all. Oh, thank you for everyone who came to the workday yesterday. We did a lot.
Ugh, I'm very tired. Today is game night, so if you want to play some board games later on, come over, there'll be food. You can speak to me, Alicia, or Aurora to get details if you don't know already.
If there are no more announcements, let us now prepare for our worship time together by reminding ourselves of who we are and why we gather. We are a community who strives to connect with one another in love. Our covenantal faith guides us to support each other in spiritual growth and deepening of faith. And today, we welcome you with open arms to our house of worship. We now create our sacred space by lighting our chalice, the UU symbol for the light of truth that each of us seeks, the light of hope that each of us brings, and the eternal light of love.
Our opening words today are Why We're Here by Eric Walker Wickstrom. Here, today, in this place and with these people, may we listen so that we can hear. May we hear so that we can feel. May we feel so that we can know, and may we know so that we can change ourselves and this world. May this chalice we light our way. Please rise in body or spirit as we sing our opening hymn, number 112 in the gray hymnals, Do You Hear?
You
is a welcoming community where we find connection through sharing our joys and sorrows. Each Sunday, we take some time to reflect on the events that have occurred this week among our members and friends. Some choose to share aloud, while others choose to remain silent. Here, we make room for both. For those of you who would like to share aloud, please take a moment before we begin to center yourself and collect your thoughts so that what you share this morning is personal, heartfelt, and brief. When you are ready, please come forward, tell us your name, and share what is in your heart. When you are finished, you may release a stone into that vase on the altar. For those of you who prefer to silently acknowledge your joys and sorrows remaining in your hearts, I invite you to come to the altar and release a stone into the vase in silence while Aviva plays Voice Still and Small. After she plays it through one time, you are all invited to join in singing one verse of the hymn, the orders of service. All these things within the heart of this community, both spoken and unspoken, by remaining silent for a moment as we consider what has been shared and how we might respond. Let us close with Amen and blessed be.
Amen. Blessed be.
And at this time, let's hear what the children will be learning and doing during RE today.
We're going to be continuing working on our Sacred Story skit rehearsal, and we're going to be doing a whole bunch of set painting because we need to get this set painted. So that's what we're going to do today.
Okay, now we will sing the children to their RE classes with the children's blessing, which is in the back of your grade hymnals, and the words are printed in your orders of service.
There we go. Great, I can stand up straight. It's awesome. Good morning, everybody. It's good to be here. Every time I do this, I fear that there will be no one here except for me. So thank you for coming out this morning. This month's theme assigned to us by the UUA is deep listening. And when I heard that was the theme, I thought it would be a good one for me to try to tackle, because by nature, I'm more of a listener than a talker. if I were going to do one new agey experience, which I'm probably not, it would definitely be a silent retreat. And I have a favorite proverb, which goes back to the Greek philosopher Epictetus, and it's that you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and you should use them in that proportion. But it turns out that it's hard to capture the virtues of listening by talking about them. Maybe I should have seen that coming. But I spent a lot of time coming up with failed homily ideas, like why I listen to country music and how to listen until your ears are full. None of them seem to capture anything especially essential. At some point, I got a little frustrated with the whole process, and I reached the point that I started to wonder what is so great about listening after all. I mean, sound is only one of our 5 senses. What's so special about it? Maybe listening is just for people who lack the courage to talk. And it was these somewhat contrarian thoughts that set me down the path of thinking about the purposes of listening, or what we might hope to accomplish by listening. And talking about what we might hope to accomplish makes listening sound sort of calculated, like it's a tactic that we might deploy. And actually, I think sometimes people do use it as a tactic. This is a bit of a sidebar, but I don't know if you've ever had the experience of talking to somebody who's just back from a class on active listening, and every time you say something to them, they say, what I hear you saying is... that gives me that nails on a chalkboard reaction, but maybe that's just me. Anyway, I'm not talking about that kind of instrumentalist approach to listening. I'm just trying to get at the idea that there are different legitimate reasons to listen deeply, some of which are more applicable in some circumstances than others. And I'll touch briefly on 4 of them in this homily. The first purpose is listening to love. This was really the topic of last week's message. Henley spoke to us about listening to people as a way of valuing them, a way of seeing them. We do this a lot with our family members. Actually, just the other night, Caroline was excited to give us a presentation she had prepared for school about shabby music from Morocco. So Lori and I set aside what we were doing, and we listened. Now, I feel a little bad about this, but I'm actually not that interested in shabby music. I'm sure it's great. It has microtones, I think. I think that was part of what we got out of it. But really, I wasn't listening because I hoped to absorb something about a new culture. I was listening because Caroline's my kid, and I'm interested in her, and I want her to know that she has my attention. If you've ever been to a middle school band concert, you are familiar with this kind of listening. No one should be subjected to that kind of racket, and I think I heard that the CIA used recordings of middle school band concerts to break the will of prisoners at Guantanamo Bay. Possibly the first ever torture joke at UUCH. Anyway, every time a middle school band plays, there's a whole auditorium of parents listening to love. Anyway, enough about that, since Henley explored that topic so thoughtfully last Sunday. On to the second purpose of listening, which is listening to learn. One thing I really like about listening is that it's an exercise in humility. Listening assumes that I don't have all the answers and that you have insights to share with me. This is a great irony of my life. When I was a teenager, I didn't know diddly squat about anything important, but I thought I knew everything, so I was quick to talk. And now that I'm older, I might know at least a tiny little something, but now I'm more inclined to listen. One setting in which we listen to learn is an academic context, a school or a lecture, where one person is an expert and the audience is not so expert, and the audience listens to the expert talk. I listen to podcasts a lot for that reason. But listening to learn actually happens in all kinds of different places and ways. I try really hard to listen when people talk about their families and their backgrounds. I feel like I learn so much about them that way, what motivates them and what interests them. I'm not that great at retaining that information always, but silver lining, that means I get to listen to learn again and again to the same information. It doesn't just come from, listening to learn doesn't just come from listening to other people. If you've got pets, you know they make noises that teach you how they like to be touched and what they really like to eat. Even inanimate objects can teach us things when we listen to them. If you've ever heard the thump, thump, thump of a tire that's gone flat, you will learn to pull over before it comes off the rim of your car. Larry King hosted his own talk show on CNN for 25 years, and he summed up this idea really well. He at least claims that he would look at himself in the morning, every mirror, and he would say aloud to himself, "Nothing I say today will teach me anything. If I'm going to learn, I must do it by listening." The third purpose of listening is to find inspiration. Nature lovers listen to the sounds of birds singing, not to show the birds that they're loved. Maybe they feel that, I doubt it. Not necessarily to learn anything about which song goes with which bird, but sometimes just to bask in the beauty of the world. If birds aren't your thing, maybe you get that same feeling at the beach when you listen to the waves roll in, or maybe at home when you hear the tapping of raindrops on your roof or the crash of thunder in a storm. Again, even inanimate objects can serve this purpose. I had the chance to go to Dallas, Texas a few years ago with my dad and my brothers, and the purpose of the trip was to drive some really fancy, expensive cars that we could not afford to own. And my favorite one was a Ferrari. It was bright red and low slung, and it had this huge V12 engine. And the engine compartment has a transparent cover so you could gaze adoringly at the machinery. And it's mounted right behind the driver's head. So as you move down the road, the engine just suffuses your senses. I never even thought about turning the radio on because I was drinking in the music of the machinery. A lot of people listen to music for inspiration. Lori and I recently went to an event where one of the speakers was sort of a dapper, middle-aged law professor. And it was so great when this eminent, bespectacled gentleman started to talk about how he listens to heavy metal music before his workouts to get fired up and inspired to put out his best effort. Heavy metal isn't my particular thing. I actually like to listen to country music. And I know some of you who are listening carefully are thinking, wait, you said you weren't going to do a sermon about country music, and I'm not, but it snuck in a little bit. I really like a lot of country songs. I like the things that they celebrate. Hard work, a sense of place, the importance of family and tradition. A lot of them talk about drinking to excess, which isn't my absolute favorite part of the message, but I'll take the bitter with the sweet. You might quibble with my assessment of the important themes in country music, but I'm here to tell you, you can't argue with science. This has been studied, and an academic analysis of popular country songs across several decades did an objective linguistic content analysis and determined that love, home, family, and work, and individual worth are key motifs. The study concluded that country music is rooted in a belief in the worth of an individual. People live lives of quiet dignity, their strength and character not always appreciated by others. Country music is about Unitarian Universalists. Now, home and family and love and hard work are not new ideas to me or anybody. I don't need to learn about them, really. but they are ideas that compete with other ideas for our allegiance. And some of those competing ideas have powerful spokespeople. Our culture is suffused with messages about the importance of looking your best at all times, achieving fame and riches, having perfect abs, or on the other side, how the world is going to hell in a handbasket and life is nothing but torment and despair. Instagram, pop music, advertisers all sell these messages. So I need to remind myself sometimes of what I think are better and more important ideas, things I need to keep in sight, things I need to keep in mind, things I need to treasure and hold close. And for me, at least, country music is good for that. After I listen to it for a little while, I'm usually happy to spend a quiet night at home with my dogs and my old truck and my wife and kids. A country artist named Larry Fleet had a song that came out last year called Things I Take for Granted, and he sings, I won't sing, but he sings, well, I'm still living and breathing. I love the job I'm leaving. And I just hit 3 green lights in a row on my way home. I've got a family that loves me, someone looking out up above me, and I've still got some blue skies left to go. I'm the Webster definition of what a lucky man is when I take a look at all the things I take for granted. It's better with the music, but I find the simplicity inspiring. It helps me sort the wheat from the chaff. Fourth, and finally, sometimes we listen to respond. This type of listening gets a bad rap. We're told that if we're thinking about what we're going to say next in a conversation, we can't be fully engaged with hearing what the other person has to say. And actually, I Googled deep listening because I wasn't totally sure what that was. And some of the definitions of it are when you're not listening to respond. But I disagree with that idea that listening to respond isn't deep listening or is somehow less valued. I think sometimes letting the other person's words spark something in you, some response, some reaction, is a way to value what they're saying. It shows that it's meaningful to us. When somebody makes a bold claim or a deep personal revelation, the last thing they want is for us to just sit there and nod along. Some of the most meaningful conversations I've ever had were almost a jumble of words where both parties were engaging with the other so rapidly and so sharing and listening simultaneously. I think just listening and listening and listening, never doing anything, can be a little empty. At some point we need to act or react. In our congregation, after the sharing of joys, sorrows, and concerns, we're asked to think about what our fellow congregants have shared and how we might respond. Let me put one more spin on listening to respond. Sometimes when you're a listener who doesn't respond, I think it's a form of selfishness or self-protection. I mean, if I have a conversation with you and I ask you some questions about your life and your family, that's nice. I'm taking an interest in you. But if our conversation consists of nothing but me asking you questions and extracting information from you and never sharing anything about myself, it's not a reciprocal conversation. It's an interrogation that leaves you exposed and vulnerable and me in the same position that I was before. I think this idea of silence as self-protection is actually part of the reason why I like to listen. Maybe not the part I'm most proud of. Anyway, that's enough talking. It's probably a good place to close. To circle back to where we began, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and we should use them in that proportion. So for some of us, we need to listen more, and there are lots of amazing reasons to listen deeply. And for some of us, we need to share more so that others may hear us and know us. With the right mix of both, we can weave together the beloved community that we hope to achieve. Thank you.
Each week we take a monetary offering to support our social justice work in the community. The social justice issue is recommended by our justice team, currently led by G. Cooper Volkheimer, and is decided on by our ministry council. Our plate collection this month goes to Orange Congregations in Mission, which is a private nonprofit ministry that has served the Northern Orange County community for almost 40 years. Our donations help them provide support to those in crisis situations in our community. You may donate by putting cash or a check in the basket, make checks out to UUCH, and put plate in the subject line. You may also donate by scanning the QR code in the order of service.
Tristan's being summoned from Ari, so we'll wait a moment. He's coming. All right. Hopefully he can chime right in when he gets here. There he is.
Listen to the voices of the First Nations. Listen to the voices of the First Nations. Calling out the messages of the earth and sky, telling us what we need to know in order to survive. Listen to the voices of the First Nations. Listen to the voices of the old women. Listen to the voices of the old women. Calling out the messages of the moon and sea, telling us what we need to know in order to be free. Listen to the voices of the old women. Listen to the voices of the young children. Listen to the voices of the young children. Calling out the messages of the heart and soul, telling us what we need to know before the lies were told. Listen to the voices of the young children. Listen to the voices of the young children.
Please join me in our gratitude affirmation found in your orders of service. For the love that surrounds us every morning, for the friends beside us, and for the generous gifts just received, let us be truly grateful. Please rise in body or spirit as we sing our closing hymn, number 414 in the gray hymnal, as we leave this friendly place. Our closing words today are Truly Listen by Barbara Hamilton Holloway. Go now in peace. Deeply regard each other. Truly listen to each other. Speak what each of you must speak. Be ready in any moment to disarm your own heart, and always live as if a realm of love had begun. So be it, blessed be. Now we will extinguish the chalice, and please join me in saying the chalice extinguishing words printed in your orders of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, nor the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go in peace and blessed be.
Thank you.